So you should see a message about that. Yes, it's recording. Yeah. Yes. Okay, great. So welcome to this event. This is sponsored by the Math Science Teacher Initiative at Cal State Fullerton. That's a state-funded effort to recruit and prepare more teachers of mathematics and science, which includes computer science. Quick agenda of what we're going to do, have some introductions. I'll share a little bit of information about the teaching profession, particularly with a focus on computer science. We'll talk a little bit about what's needed to become a teacher. You'll hear from our panelists. We have some teachers with us. And then I'll share a little bit about the resources that the Math Science Teacher Initiative has to support people who want to become teachers. So let's jump right into introductions. Dr. Vine?
Yeah, my name is Doina Bain. I'm associate professor in computer science. I used to be a high school teacher and I loved being a high school teacher, but I wanted to get a PhD, and now I love being on faculty at the university. If you have any questions, I'll be the main person in computer science to answer you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Stephen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen Kahn. I'm a math and computer science teacher over at Esperanza High School, which isn't too far from Cal State Fullerton. And prior to that, actually, I just like all of you, I did a bachelor's in computer science at Cal State Fullerton, and actually worked as in the programming industry for a little bit before going back and then doing my math credential also at Cal State Fullerton. So hopefully I can provide some insight, and I'm looking forward to meeting you all.
Thank you. And Veronica.
Hi, I'm Veronica Van Diementer. I'm a computer science teacher at Valencia High School in Placentia, so I'm pretty close to Cal State Fullerton also. So I've been teaching for a long time, over 30-something years, so I'll talk to you when it's time for me to talk. So.
Yeah, she's got some great stories too. Okay, so let me just go over some information. You might know, depending on when you came out of high school, you might know that computer science is in demand. People want more coursework. 93% of parents want their child's school to teach computer science, and yet less than half of schools actually offer computer science courses. Computer science is rated as one of the most important subjects that people would like their children to be studying right after reading and writing. And we know that students who learn computer science in high school are 6 times more likely to major in that. And for women, it's 10 times more likely. So you all might think about your own experiences and how you ended up in computer science. And 2/3 of parents and over half of teachers think students should be required to learn computer science. We're not quite there yet, but I think we are definitely in California moving in that direction. And our panelists can talk about that in just a moment. As far as why students would want to take computer science in high school, we know that there are lots of jobs out there in computer science industry and in other industries that require or would be, you would be better prepared if you had a background in computer science. So even though very few students are now taking computer science, you see the pie chart on the left, that little sliver of yellow, and yet over half of jobs really are requiring this, or would be, you would be better prepared if you had computer science background. One of the challenges we face, so I'm a professor in secondary education. I'm a math educator to be specific about it. So my background is studying the teaching of mathematics and now teacher preparation. One of the problems we see is that we are not getting enough teachers, people coming in to become teachers, people who have the actual content background. So what's happening is schools need more teachers in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And yet the supply is decreasing in terms of people coming out of those fields who want to be teachers. So you see the graphs on the chart there, and you'll see the preliminary credentials on the left are decreasing. And what that means is schools are hiring people with substandard credentials, with alternative certification. So they're less well prepared than they should be. And that's true for both math and science. So why is that problematic? Well, I want to do just a little demonstration for you. So if you could play along, I'd like you to look at the quick image I'm going to show you. You get 30 seconds to remember as much as you can. 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. Okay, time's up. So you can put in the chat if you remember any of these, A, B, C, D, E, F, and you can kind of draw it out in the chat with using letters. You could describe it as a backwards L or upside down U, or you could put a C, an O for the block. Okay, so I see some. Oh yeah, okay. Great. So Ahmed is got a quick memorization on some of those. That's good. No F. Anyone else got any ideas? Oh, D is okay. Yeah, sideways U. Yeah. So what if instead of what I showed you at first, what if I showed you this diagram?
Oh, easy.
So what's different about this? You're actually now seeing the structure. And so this is a really simple, but in my experience, a really powerful way to demonstrate that good teaching is helping students to see the structure, the coherence of the discipline. And mathematics and computer science are really the only subjects that you're going to learn in school that are totally rooted in, based on logic, right? There should be a coherence to what you are learning in these subjects, because that's the nature of the discipline. So if you're learning math and you're saying it makes no sense, then there's something wrong with the way it's being taught. If you're learning computer science and it doesn't make sense to you, you're missing the logic, right? So you've got to get that figured out in order to move on and be successful. So the teacher who comes in underprepared in the discipline is going to be less able to help students see that sense making, see that coherence, because they themselves don't have the depth of knowledge that would be required to do that. It's not to say you can't learn and grow and get better over time, but if we're talking about preparing new teachers to go in and fill these jobs that are there right now, we really want people coming in who have the disciplinary knowledge to be able to hit the ground running. Folks like Stephen came out of our program recently. So again, happy that you're here. Hopefully you'll consider this. We also want you to think about the fact that our K-12 schools, the population in the schools has changed dramatically in California over the last 25 years. And the majority of students in our schools are students of color. However, the teaching population has not shifted that dramatically over those same 25 years. And our teaching population is much less diverse. Not that that's always an issue, but it is an issue of just being able to connect with students. And in some cases, there are teachers who are uncomfortable with the changing demographics of our students. So the state of California and the CSU system sees it as an imperative that we bring in more teachers who are more diverse, who represent more of our student body in our K-12 population. So CSU Fullerton is a very good reflection of that K-12 population. So it's a wonderful place for us to recruit folks into the teaching profession. The benefits of having a more racially diverse teacher workforce is we can fill hard to staff positions. Academic performance is better when you have a more diverse teaching force. We have improved attendance of students. The school climate is improved. There's better satisfaction, and it really benefits all kids. So that's just a little bit of information about the teaching profession. I'll sprinkle in a few more things as we go along, but now I want to pivot to our panelists and give them a question to begin with. So this first question is, why did you decide to become a teacher, and what do you enjoy about it? And I'll let any of you start who would like to start.
I became a teacher because I was working in industry and I worked at a parish helping them with their computer system, and they started a school. They started a classroom for a thing called computers in 1987, I think it was 1987. And they asked me to be a teacher and teach the class. And I said, I'm not a teacher. And they offered me more money than I expected. I had little children. I said, ooh, I don't have to work 80 hours a week. I could have summers off. I think I can do this. So I got into computers through the back door. I didn't have a teaching degree. I was a business/computer science major. And I've been teaching computer science ever since. So it wasn't called computer science back then. And I've taught everything from kindergarten through college. And I'm teaching computer science still. So that's how I did it.
And what do you enjoy about it, Veronica? Why do you stay in it for so long?
My biggest wonderful day is when I see the light bulbs come on. So I'll be explaining, all right, we're doing variables today, and here's the syntax and blah, 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 and here's what you can do with them. And all of a sudden someone goes, oh, I get it. And I go, that's why I teach, because I like light bulbs coming on. So it's the aha moment. So I love it. I love the creativity they do with their programs. I don't just teach computer programming. Although one semester is computer programming, we do the internet and big data and data analysis and computational thinking and problem solving. And so not just programming.
Great.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you.
Hmm?
All right, so I guess I'll go next. I'll back up a little. I mentioned that I majored in computer science. So I decided when I was 14 years old that I was going to get my degree in computer science and become a programmer. And it probably, at that point, I think I wanted to develop video games. And, maybe like some of you, I just had this path very clearly set out in front of me. And it wasn't easy. I sympathize with you all because whatever level you're at in computer science, it's a difficult degree. And so I really had to power and push myself through to get there. And I finally got there. It was like, wow, I have my degree ready to go out into industry. And, I had worked while I was in college. I didn't only go to school, but it was like my first jobs where it's like, you're a software engineer. You're not just like an IT person or something like that. And, I think I could do, I had good professional experiences. I had good experiences creating things that helped others. And I think I started to realize that I got a lot more satisfaction from these projects. I worked for an education company actually that managed inventory in a warehouse. And I created a piece of software that allowed them to scan in their damaged inventory and accounting could automatically deduct it. And long story short, it saved people many hours of work per week. And I just got more satisfaction out of the fact that it made people's lives and jobs easier. And but I guess just over time, I felt like the corporate lifestyle and the kind of the attitude where you're always sort of fighting for your job and in competition with people around you, it just didn't really suit me. And I realized that I've always enjoyed learning. I've always enjoyed going to school. And you're obviously all college students. So I'm sure you all enjoy learning and you enjoy, making your brain bigger, so to speak. And I had always, I tutored while I was in high school for extra money on the side. My mom was a teacher. And these thoughts just started coming through my head. Hey, I think I'd be a lot happier in a different kind of a job. And so in the effort of being absolutely honest with everyone, after losing a job with no explanation as to why, being the kind of person that wants to improve on myself, that hit me really hard. And it was just the right thing that pushed me to pursue the math credential. So I did the foundation level math credential program, but took a third test so I could teach any level of math. And so that was why I became a teacher in the first place. But what do I enjoy about it? I didn't necessarily set out to become a computer science teacher at first. I set out to be a math teacher. But what I love is that I get to bring this unique background into my teaching. Most teachers don't have this kind of background. They don't have a computer science degree. I have actually never met a full-blown teacher. I've met teachers in the process of going there, but who had a bachelor's in computer science, aside from college professors, of course. So, I think that it's the fact that I'm in this unique position and that I'm not just another teacher, it really gave me a more positive outlook on my professional life. And then just that satisfaction, like Veronica was saying, that aha moment with the students and being able to share that with students. And something I always tell to other teachers and my students is I feel like as teachers, we always try to be the teachers that we wish we had. So I think I really enjoy getting to be the kind of computer science teacher that I wished that I had in high school, and getting to push my students, further than a lot of students typically go in a high school class. So cut it off there for that one.
Thank you. Dr. Bain, did you want to add anything to that or no?
For me, was to enter computer science, it was my father's decision. He said, Doina is good at math, so what can we do about it? If she becomes a math teacher, she will starve because there are so many math teachers. That's a different country. Computer science, there were none. Like Veronica, at the same time when Veronica started, it was almost unknown, like few people knew about it and that's all. And then my parents, like Steve, my father, he's retired, and he said, Doina, who will pay you for 3 months off in summer? I said, you cannot. And it's like in Veronica's situation, I have small children, so they have summer off, they want to see their parents. So it's when I listen to you guys, I see myself in you, and I'm sure that there are a lot of teachers who could not participate today who have similar motivations. That's all, Mark. And if I enjoy it, I love it. If I would be born again, I will do computer science.
That's awesome. You guys got me thinking back to my own experience. So when I was undergrad, I did start out computer science, although I didn't finish computer science. There was a moment I had sitting at 2 a.m. doing a program for one of my classes. I had to design a theater reservation ticketing system that allowed people to book seats and change seats and cancel and all this. And I was doing the coding and I just looked up, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. I could do it, but I wasn't enjoying it. But I did enjoy, actually, my college job was a tutor for the computer science department. I was tutoring students taking the intro classes. And there were a couple of women in one of the classes who the lectures weren't really clicking with them. They came to the lab where I was, and they found it to be really helpful that I could help explain things. And they were making their own code. At that time, it was C++, so that was a little while ago, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And they actually ended up passing the class. Yeah, C++. They ended up passing the class and they did very well. And they just said, oh, thank goodness, we appreciate you so much. And it just made me, as Veronica was saying, that seeing the light come on, seeing their excitement at understanding something and being able to use it was just amazing. So I thought, this is what I want to do. Absolutely. So if you're thinking
about C++.
Oh, good. So I'm not out of date yet.
No, we do think C++, and that's another part about computer science. You have a part like math, which never changes, and that's computational thinking and algorithms. They have been there forever. But then you have the new part, which is programming, which changes so fast. It's like the iPhone. We have C++ 20. We used to have C++ 17, and then C++ 13, and C++ 11, and C++ 99. So you do have like a German autobahn. You have a fast lane and you have a slow lane.
Or you can do, I did Pascal and COBOL. So you could be really old and do it way before C++ ever existed.
Yeah.
Nice. So Stephen mentioned, and all of you mentioned about salary. So just in case you're curious, in Orange County, we had someone look at salary schedules. They're publicly available, and we compiled the list. First year starting salary, if you came out of a Cal State Fullerton credential program, You can see in some local districts, anywhere from $55,000 to $62,000 a year. That's starting. Teaching is a unionized profession in California, which means there's a fixed salary schedule that accumulates. You get an advance every year that you teach up to a certain number of years. It might be 20 to 25 years. They call them steps. You also can earn a higher salary as you earn more credits toward like a master's degree or a PhD. Some districts will give you an additional pay if you earn national board certification. So I work a lot with Anaheim Union High School District, and their mid-career teachers, like 10 to 15-year teachers, are making six figures.
Yeah.
So I understand it's not the same as going into computer science, but that's definitely a living wage and then some. So
could I add to
3 months off in summer, where if you want, you can work somewhere else.
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Could I add to that? Schools have a lot of opportunities for extra positions. Like I've coached speech and debate, which is an extra stipend. You can coach sports. You don't have to be an athlete to coach a sport. You can, do theater. You can do academic decathlon. And these are all stipend positions. I can share I'm a union rep at my site, and the union really helps us to be able to get all these things fairly. So they're not saying, here's extra work, we're already overworked anyway, but here's extra work that you don't get paid for. Lots of opportunity for that. And then I had mentioned the non-competitive aspect, where it feels like, unlike a corporate job where everyone's kind of on the same team. And I think that the salary schedule is a big key to that, because we all know we're going to get an increase next year, and we're all going to get an increase together. So it's not like this person's trying to make me look not as good as them, so they get the promotion and I don't. A lot more camaraderie.
Yeah, and something that's not shown in this salary schedule are the benefits. And although the salary might not be as high as some private industry jobs, the benefits are generally quite good compared to other industries. So the health benefits in particular. So to those salaries, you probably add on another $30,000 to $40,000 in benefits, particularly around healthcare and retirement.
We are separate from Social Security. So public school teachers, at least in our state, do not give money to Social Security. We give money to Cal STRS or CalSTRS, and it's basically a retirement system that we pay into. And if you work for, that 25-ish to 30 years, you're looking at basically taking home your last salary with inflation bonuses over the years for the rest of your life after you retire. And so in order to have that from a corporate job, you'd have to be putting a lot into your 401k every month, I think.
Yeah. Great. So I have another question for you on the panel. So what are the types of computer science courses offered at your school? Veronica touched on this a little bit. Maybe you can go a little more into the details.
All right. I'm at a technology academy. So our school kind of offers more computer science than some of the other high schools in our district. I teach the beginning one. I teach AP Computer Science Principles, which is pretty new. It's only been out for 5 years. And it is a little bit of everything, programming and the internet and data analysis. And it touches on some job aspects that different people could do. Those who like computer science would go on to like Computer Science A, which is the typical AP class. It's 1 year of programming in Java, and then there is some IB programs and honors programs, and they'll do another Java, some C++. So it just goes in depth. So our students can do 4 years of straight computer science. And yet someone might go, ooh, I kind of like mechatronics or robotics or networking. So we have Cisco trained teachers, we have robotics. So we have a lot of, and these are offered at many high schools. We just happen to be a technology academy. So we're a magnet school, and we have about 1,000 more students than the other high schools, but we offer a lot of technology classes. So I'm the introductory, this is how you get in to the program.
Person that just entered my waiting room.
All right. I guess I'll go next. So my high school, even though we're in the same district, different situation. So if you go back in time, the Placentia Yorba Linda, our district, each high school had kind of a specialty. And so as Veronica mentioned, Valencia, they call it Val Tech over there. Esperanza, we actually have a medical sciences academy and an engineering and manufacturing academy. So this is my 5th year teaching. And when I got hired to teach at Esperanza, they previously didn't have any AP computer science. They had an introductory non-AP course called Exploring Computer Science. And then since then, we've actually gotten rid of that class. So currently, so in addition to a regular credential, there's also what's called a CTE credential, which is Career and Technical Education. And so if you have this as a teacher, it means you can turn your track of classes into what they call a CTE academy. So both of our schools have this, to be clear. But at my school, since we are not technology specific, I'm the only computer science teacher. And so I teach the whole pathway. So that for us, that starts with the AP Computer Science Principles class, which I should mention, there are different curriculum sets. So actually Veronica and I use different curriculums to teach that class. And then having my background, I actually merged in a C++ unit. And some of you might know Dr. Wortman. I worked with him to basically merge our class so that we were covering what CPSC 120 at Cal State Fullerton was also covering into some 121 concepts as well. So my computer science principles class kind of goes a bit beyond AP exam requirements. And then as a result in computer science A, which is probably the class that many of you took, if you took AP computer science, like I was in high school 15 years ago, and that was the computer science class that they had back then. It's the older class. And because I pushed the kids so far initially, we actually get up to like data structures topics. We're actually working on, I threw some the traveling salesman problem at them. Some of you probably know that. I throw linked lists at them and some topics they don't normally wouldn't normally cover at computer science A. So it's one thing I'm really proud of is that we have this 2-year sequence, but our kids are going into college with much more knowledge than what is typical. So yeah, I think I more than answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. So again, they're talking about the courses and enrollments. So just to give you a sense of California, this is 2016-17 data. Out of all the almost 2 million kids in high school, only 57,000 were enrolled in computer science, and only 570 took an AP computer science test. So you can see there's plenty of room for growth. Just in absolute numbers, right? We want to see more students do that. This was 4 years ago. But we also want to see a more diverse group of students enter computer science in high school. So here is data from 2016-17, and this is nationwide, broken out by race and ethnicity. And if you look at the charts, you also see it's broken out by gender, right? So the yellow bars being male, the reddish orange being female. Notice that the numbers of female, about half of male in 2016-17. And if we jump ahead to 2017-18, it gets a little bit better, but it's still about half as many. So this is also an issue. We want to have teachers coming into this to teach computer science who really care about changing the demographics of who's in these classes and who's being successful with these courses. So think about that too, if that's something that you care about, if that's something you've seen in your own education and you'd like to address. Every school district that I work with in this area wants to see that issue addressed, and they want their teachers to come to them wanting to tackle that, right? So they're not trying to hide behind anything right now. Right now is a great time in terms of making change, and changing the demographics is one area that they really want to see some progress made. So my next question is about that. You know, how do you get a representative group of students to enroll in and succeed in computer science courses, particularly with respect to gender and ethnicity?
I guess I could go first.
I'm gonna, only because I'm jumping around with a battery problem on my phone. So I'm gonna, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, don't do
Every time I do it, I hit unmute so I can unplug for a minute. All right, so I started teaching AP Computer Science in 1998. And I did not have a girl in my class till I think it was around 2005, 2006. One girl, she wanted to drop the minute she walked in the class. I talked her into staying, and she brought a friend with her, and I brought them through. They struggled, but I brought them through. Now I have 40% girls in my class. I think it does help that I'm a woman teacher in a predominantly male, even in the teaching field, it's male dominated in computer science. And so, hey, there's 2 computer science women in here. So that's kind of cool. I do go to the AVID program in our school, and I recruit from the AVID program and let students know that this is an AP class, but I do tell them, I go, you know what, this is probably the easiest AP class you're ever going to take, and I will hold your hand and I will get you through. I look for, on purpose, people of color to say, why aren't you in my class? You know, so I go on campus and I talk to them, and I do crazy things outside with robotic grids, and they go, what is she doing? I saw you guys out there. And they go, yeah, she's a crazy teacher. We go out there and we do robotic problems on this big sheet, and it's kind of fun. And then, so anyway, I let people know that we're there, and I specifically go to kids. I go, how come you're not in my class? I don't see you signing up. So I recruit, I do it, but I have 176 students. So I work at that, at getting them.
All right, I guess I'll go next. So I kind of segueing a little bit back to the last slide that Dr. Ellis was showing us with regards to AP Computer Science Principles. I don't think we really mentioned this. So AP Computer Science Principles was actually created by College Board directly because of this issue right here, because essentially AP Computer Science A being the equivalent of Computer Science 120, like an introductory programming class, was a little bit daunting and threatening, like Veronica's talking about, for that, you know, that one girl that signed up for the class, for that one person that didn't look or feel like the rest of the class. And so College Board saw, you know, they were getting tanking results on AP tests. Think about it. Before you take AP Calculus, you've taken 11 years of math before that. So it's like, usually AP Computer Science is the first computer science class a student takes, and we're throwing them into a class that usually students take when they're already at that college level maturity. So while it works for some of us, it didn't work for all types of learners. So then I think that's a big thing right there, is that AP Computer Science Principles itself, as I mentioned, that we used to offer Exploring Computer Science, and we pushed that out because even though AP Computer Science Principles is AP, it's really designed to be that intro class, not just for computer science majors. So that's another tactic I use, is I say this, you don't have to want to major in computer science just to take this class. This is a class that will help you in the stuff we were talking about earlier, the computational thinking. You know, you all know this, problem solving strategies. This helps you in every aspect of your life, academic or otherwise. So the same things that, you know, we're trying to teach as math educators, that we're trying to teach critical thinking and problem solving. This is kind of what AP Computer Science Principles was designed around teaching. And so I think that opens things up. And obviously there's, like, I think, financial inequities we didn't see on those graphs. Like, if you've grown up with lots of computers around you, more money and stuff, you're at more of an advantage than somebody that their parents could barely afford computers growing up. So myself, to be proactive, I get paperwork out to all of the teachers at my school. So I get them to pitch computer science to the kids in their class, and I say, hey, if you have a couple students, you know, especially girls, students that are underrepresented, maybe you could steer them over if they'd be interested. You know, I don't want kids to be forced to take it. It's not required yet, but and then what I also do is I teach Algebra 1A currently, which is our lowest math class. So the other end of the spectrum from the kids taking AP Computer Science. as well as geometry. And I've taught other math classes, and it's very apparent that I teach computer science. I'll link my math lessons back to computer science lessons and vice versa. So I always get a few kids that maybe never would have considered taking the class, but because they decided they liked me as a teacher, or they connected with something I said in, their math class, they decided to try computer science. And I've gotten some of my best students that way. So now I will be honest and say that my classes, I do have a good number of girls this year, not 50%. But our student population, we don't have a lot of African-American students at our school. So I also have to be realistic and say I'm not going to have half a class of African-Americans, because no classes at my school have that. But at the same time, I don't want that, these racial, these identity issues to be a reason why you didn't take the class. So, like Veronica said, if there's a student of color that shows interest, I want to make sure I open the door to them. If you get into teaching, you'll start hearing a lot about equity and social justice and whatnot. So, try to bring that to the forefront. And then, also the fact that I can also throw in, I went and taught in South Africa the summer before this last summer, so 2 summers ago. And, there's a lot of poorer people over there. And I mentioned to them, look, you get skills in computer science. Nobody cares where you're from. Nobody cares. All they care about is what you can do and what you know. And so these are skills that I think take away class issues. You could have somebody that grew up with, very humble roots, extremely poor, background. And if they can power themselves through, whether it's a computer science degree or an IT certificate or whatever, that's a pathway to changing their lives to, a middle to upper middle class, income, even becoming filthy rich if they become, one of the few. But yeah.
So something I mentioned when we were planning this together, the group of us, that I'll share with you now, is that there's one country that's not that far from the United States that actually is leading the world in the number of women earning computer science degrees. And you might not know this if you haven't read about it. It's actually not our neighbor to the north. It's actually our neighbor to the south, Mexico. So wow. The Mexican government, just a few years ago, they decided to invest in addressing both the under production of computer science majors overall and the underrepresentation of women in computer science. And they did a whole nationwide campaign, and every public university is now funded to run these programs, and they have huge success with that. So it's entirely possible to change this, and what you're saying is entirely true, right? If you want to do this, it really should not matter your background. Our institutions, particularly those that are publicly funded, should be set up to support any student that comes to them. We had a question from Maria in the chat, so I'm just going to put it out to you. What are the differences in how you would teach high school students versus college courses? And I think part of that is thinking about, like, a college course runs for a quarter, a semester, and the high school is the whole year. And what made you choose to teach high school versus college?
I've taught both. I think I teach more in the high school than I teach in the college class because I have more time. I don't actually think I teach it slower. High school students, they're pretty good, I find. So I can usually teach more in a high school class than I can in a college class because I do have a thing called time. I teach high school, I think, because I have so much time invested into high school systems with retirement than I do with college. So I've always been adjunct at a college, and there's no reason that I guess other than retirement that I chose high school over college. I like high school. I do. I like teaching high school students. So I've taught kindergarten through college. I like them all. Middle school's not my favorite, but it's just not my favorite. So 4th grade, I love 4th graders. Anyway, I taught my I taught a lot of my adults because I usually am teaching at night. So I mostly have adults who are already in the workforce when I teach a college class. And I teach a lot of them like I do kind of my younger students. And I have a lot of manipulatives I use. So I don't think I do anything different. If anything, I do it kind of the same. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Let me kind of break the answer down. So the first question was like, what are the main differences in the way of teaching people who teach high school versus those who teach in college? So I think I kind of interpret your question as the way that the professors versus the high school teachers teach. So I think in theory, maybe there shouldn't be a whole lot of difference. So some words for you. There's this term pedagogy, which is like the science of teaching children. And then a word that's pretty new to me, andragogy. It's the science of teaching adults. But essentially, I think that they should be the same. But my experience in college, and no offense to the two college professors here, because they're both excellent examples, but I feel like a lot of college professors are experts in their field, but they're not necessarily experts in the science of teaching. And so I feel like the teaching is really almost like neuroscience in a way. It's like applied neuroscience. It's like, how does our brain process information? And hey, computer science majors, we're talking about computers that take input and process information and output. So it's almost like trying to understand the human mind as a computer. And so I think going through the credential program, one of the most positive schooling experiences I ever had, period. So I can't recommend it enough. Dr. Ellis was one of the head honchos that founded the FLM program. So he gets a lot of the credit there. And I feel like it allowed me to expand my mind so much beyond what a normal degree did. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that all of the professors in that school are teachers. They learned pedagogy. So I think if all college professors took a class in pedagogy or andragogy, they for sure would probably be teaching more like how we do. Now, the way college professors in my experience taught, especially these upper division computer science classes, they're writing on the whiteboard, talking about, this is how, you create a thread. And, I remember the operating systems concepts class and, and how abstract that was. And we weren't doing anything. We were just looking at them writing on the board and all of this stuff. And it's so abstract and such high level information. And I felt like they're not, obviously it makes sense to the professors because they wouldn't have PhDs in their field if it didn't make sense to them. But there were times I went to professors that said, this doesn't make sense to me. I can tell you it was CPSC 440, the computer architecture class. Did not make sense to me. I'm like, why do we need to memorize the way a CPU is cycling through all of these things? And they didn't know how to help me a lot of the time. I go to office hours, they didn't really know how to break it down. So I feel like that's the biggest difference. High school teachers, middle school teachers, any K through 12 teacher has to go through this whole experience learning about the science of teaching. And so I think I'm just going to go out and say it. On average, I think K through 12 teachers are better teachers. There's obviously lots of exceptions. I think that when we teach AP classes like Veronica and I do, we try to teach our students like they're at your level. I try to treat my students like college students because they're at a college level. At least that's what they're saying by taking an AP class. And if they can't perform it, if they aren't willing to throw themselves at the problem, then they shouldn't be in the class. So not a lot of differences there. And then the second part of your question was what made you choose high school over college? Just, taking out the whole, the joy of dealing with, there's a lot of joy in being with students at that time of their life where they're deciding where they're going to go next. I have a student, I just wrote a recommendation letter so he can get into MIT. I didn't go to MIT, but I get to be part of that student's development, and he would certainly deserve going to MIT. He's writing AI that plays Flappy Bird, and he's in high school. So, I mean, he's at this obscenely high level. And you don't get that in college. Of course, some of you are probably very gifted, but I'm dealing with every kid, from the kids that are going to MIT to the kids that won't make it into college. And so you get to be part of that. And then second, looking at it more professionally, getting a tenured track professor job, you can ask the two professors here, is extremely, extremely difficult and time consuming. And you're usually a bit older by the time you get there. You'll have to sometimes move states. There's a lot more job security, I feel, in the K through 12 system. You don't have to publish, to keep your job. And you have a career track, like Dr. Ellis showed you those salaries. You are getting, when you get a credential, you're not just getting a degree, you're getting a professional license that says you're qualified to do this job. And now you are getting that salary. It's not a, I don't know. I just think it's a little more cut and dry and a little safer. And I also think that one doesn't preclude the other, because as Veronica said, and many of my colleagues are also adjunct faculty at community colleges. And one of our high school teachers, actually, he's the AP calculus teacher at our school, teaches calculus at Cal State Fullerton. Matt Varney, if anybody, and any of you had him. But the point is that I think you could technically start teaching high school and then use that as a launching point while you're getting your master's, PhD, and then go on to teach college after that.
Great. Thank you. And
because
go ahead.
I thought at both levels, if I have a choice between teaching high school and college level, and it's a job security will be the same, I'll teach at the high school, because the classes are much smaller. You have an entire year to go. So at the college level, you have 4 years, but in these 4 years, you change instruction so often that you don't remember who is what. Number two, it's a high school. You really see the students learning. At the college level, you are expecting to just lecture, like Steve said. And then when you have so many students, if the students don't get it, not your problem. You have 200 more to worry about it. So the life as a high school teacher for me was more stressful, because I had to prepare much more in order to do the pedagogy part, to think about it, why the student did not get it. While at the college level, if they do not get it, then they should send me an email. So their problem, it's not my problem. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the getting a college degree, my husband says that becoming a college is like becoming a cardinal. It is so competitive. It is so difficult. You need to go through 4 years of bachelor's degree. You need to get through 2 years of master's, 5 years of PhD, expected 2 or 3 years of research and publications. So by the time you reach the college professor, unless you had compressed the 4 years of study, like MIT does it, in 5 years you get the MS degree, and then maybe 3 years of PhD, you have 5 years in which you just study extra in order to become a college professor.
Yeah. Thank you. And in the interest of time, I'm gonna go to the next slide here, which is about, as Stephen had mentioned, the foundational level math program. So in the state of California, there is no standalone computer science credential for new teachers. You heard mention of the career technical education pathways, CTE. There is a CTE credential for someone coming out of computer science industry, where you've had a certain number of years experience, and you could do that. But for an initial credential, someone coming out of undergraduate, what you would have to do is earn a credential in mathematics, and computer science falls under the umbrella of mathematics. So I'm going to tell you about the single subject program in general. That's for anyone wanting to teach a single subject like mathematics or science or whatever. So at Cal State Fullerton, you need to have your bachelor's degree. As of next fall, you also need to have an ethnic studies course requirement. That's a new requirement that our college has put into place. And there are 4 prerequisite courses, the ones with the 310, 320, 330, 340. Those are prior to the credential program. Those are prerequisite, laying the foundation of, as Stephen was sharing, sort of the science of teaching. So that's for anyone wanting to earn a single subject credential. And then you need to pass some subject matter exams. The CSET exams are what they're called. And for mathematics, foundational level, which means teaching up through 10th grade math, you need to pass 2 exams. Did you teach all the way up through 12th grade, including AP Calc, you need to pass 3 exams. So you can learn about that going on our website, but that's just sort of a very quick sketch of what's required. And then when you get into the credential program, like foundational level math, it's a 2-semester program where you are placed with a mentor teacher, someone like Veronica or Stephen, perhaps, in the future. And you work with them while you're taking coursework around pedagogy in the discipline of teaching mathematics and general pedagogy of teaching and assessing learning at the secondary level. So we have a 2-semester program. All of my colleagues in the department are folks who have taught in the public schooling system. And we all came to higher ed because we love teaching and we want to help others come into the profession and love it as much as we do. So I feel privileged to be part of the department here at Cal State Fullerton. And we have an excellent reputation in the region and even throughout the country. Our students always find jobs. There's also funding available through the Math Science Teacher Initiative. As I mentioned, this is state funding. I awarded last year $60,000 in scholarships to students who are working toward their credential in math or science. And we will hopefully do the same this year. We started a new scholarship this year with Dr. Bain's input. We're going to create a scholarship for computer science students who want to work toward foundational level math or math credential. So we'll be sharing that information with you, and anyone who signed up for this webinar will send that information out. Application will be in the spring. We also have other stipends and internships. For example, we have students right now who are being paid to offer tutoring to middle school and high school students. That's our Math Science Ambassador program. We have a summer internship program where we place students and we pay them to work with informal science learning centers like the Discovery Cube, Newport Back Bay, the Ocean Institute. Then the federal government has some grants for folks that are earning credentials in high need areas, which mathematics would be one of those. I see that, oh, you answered the question. Oh, good. Thank you, Stephen. So that's just very quick information. You can go to our website and get more details, but I do want to respect the time. If you have any burning question, we got a couple minutes. If you want to just open your mic and toss it out or drop it into the chat, happy to do that.
Real quick.
Please.
I'm too old for this, but isn't there, when you're in teaching, you can get your student loans paid off? I wish that would have been when I was.
So the federal Teach grant. There used to be a California program. The state stopped that when we hit the recession in 2009, and they've never restarted it. But the federal government Teach grant is exactly that. It's up to $5,000 a year as you're working toward your credential. And as long as you go into teaching in that high need subject area, that gets paid off over time. If you do not go into teaching, it reverts to a loan. So that is the program, exactly, Veronica. Yep. Great. Any burning questions? So this last slide has a really important link on it, and I dropped it in the chat a little bit earlier as well. I guess I'll do that again. We'd like you to take a survey, give us feedback about this session. We appreciate that, and every good teacher loves good feedback so that we can get better. So please take time to do that for us. And if you have a friend who was unable to attend, we are recording this, and Dr. Bain will be able to let them know how they can access that recording once it's posted in a couple of days. So I want to say thank you to the panelists, Veronica, Stephen, and Dr. Bain also for joining us and being the liaison with computer science. I really appreciate your time and sharing your insights and expertise with this group. So thank you so much. And to all of the students, thank you for being here. I know this is an incredibly crazy time, but it's also a time where we're doing a lot of thinking, I think all of us, about what is the purpose in what we're doing, and what do we want to see our legacy be. And I can tell you that being a teacher, you will make an imprint on so many young people. I was in the classroom in the early 90s when I started teaching, and I just connected with a couple of my former students from my first year as a teacher, and one of them is now a principal, and the other is a teacher in the area where I taught up in the Bay Area, so in Hollister, Gilroy. And it was just like, I had no idea. I just randomly cleaning out the closet, ran across something, and I said, I'm going to look them up. And oh my gosh, they were like thrilled to hear from me. So you will have such an impact. Not that you can't do that in other professions, but it's one where you definitely on a regular basis know that you're making a difference. So thank you for considering that. And panelists, thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good evening. Yes.
All right, you too.
Bye, Veronica.
No,
Thank you.
I was just saying bye.
Look
Okay,
forward to your
bye-bye.
emails.
Yes.
Thank you.